Trump dumps the climate agreement and Trudeau says we'll always have Paris. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. So Donald Trump's White House is confirming that the American president will follow through on his campaign promise and withdraw the Americans from the Paris climate deal that was agreed to by his predecessor, Barack Obama. Trump tweeted an announcement is on the way. I will be announcing my decision on the Paris Accord over the next few days. Make America great again. And in his daily press briefing, Sean Spicer told reporters not only is a decision coming, but that Trump talked to G7 leaders about pulling out of Paris while in Europe.
This morning, the president met with Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Pruitt. One of the topics that they discussed, of course, was the president's upcoming decision on the Paris Climate Accords. As I've told you overseas, this is the subject that the president is spending a great deal of time on, and one that he spoke to the G7 members about during their meetings. Ultimately, he wants a fair deal for the American people, and he will have an announcement coming on that shortly.
The withdrawal of the U.S. from the Paris deal is all but confirmed. And yet, what is Canada doing about all of this? Well, forging straight ahead, of course, convinced that whether the U.S. is on board or not, agreeing to the Paris Accord and imposing a carbon tax or a cap-and-trade system on the country, driving up costs and making life and business in Canada less affordable, is the right way to go. Now, we all know that the Trudeau Liberals love to say they believe in science-based, evidence-based policy. So obviously, they've studied what Canada going forward without the U.S. will mean for the Canadian economy, right? I mean, they wouldn't commit the country to such a major decision without huge implications, without serious, science-based, evidence-based study, right? Wrong. We submitted an access to information request for the following information. Provide copies for any studies or analysis done on the potential impact of proceeding with action on climate change and carbon pricing alone without cooperative or comparable action by the United States on Canadian industry, the Canadian economy, and individual Canadians since January 1st, 2016. I would expect a request like that to bury us in paper and PDF files and study after study. After all, the government keeps telling us this is the right way to go. They must have the evidence to back it up, right? Wrong. The response was one short line. After a thorough search, no records were found concerning this request. Let me repeat, no records were found. They did a thorough search. This government is committed to going ahead with a plan that will drastically change our economy, put us at odds with our biggest trading partner, and they haven't studied the impact of doing that? I guess we shouldn't worry, though. Justin Trudeau, that well-known economist, the man who can recite pi to the 19th decibel, tells us that, well, it's going to be great, with or without the U.S. Here's what he told the Globe and Mail last December after Trump won the U.S. election and after it was made clear the U.S. was not going to tax carbon dioxide. We know that this is the way the world is going, and if the United States wants to take a step back from it, quite frankly, I think we should look at that as an extraordinary opportunity for Canada and for Canadians, an opportunity to draw in investors who are focused on where the profits and the opportunities are going to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Profits and opportunities? For who? Not for you, maybe for the government, maybe for their well-connected friends, but not for you. You will simply pay more for goods while worrying about your job being eliminated because doing business in Canada on every front is going to get more and more expensive under left-wing governments, whether it's from carbon taxes or pension premium increases, EI premium increases, higher minimum wages, higher income taxes. But don't worry, though. Trudeau and his environment minister keep on saying that any price on carbon will be revenue neutral. All the money collected will stay with the provinces. Except, of course, when it won't. In response to an order paper question, the Liberals admitted that they will charge the GST on any carbon pricing. Asked if that money will then be returned to the provinces, the answer was no. These revenues do not include those in respect of the GST charged on products or services that may have embedded carbon pricing costs in them. As for revenue neutral, that's a tricky term, isn't it? Doesn't mean revenue neutral for you, just for the government. You could end up paying more. And besides, provinces like Ontario, Alberta, and likely soon BC, well, they're putting a price on carbon and offering no offsetting tax cuts. They just want the extra revenue to spend on their pet projects. So the cost of doing business in Canada will go up. The cost of making or growing anything will go up. And you're going to pay more for everything. Your employer will pay more for everything. And the Americans, the guys that we trade with the most, compete with the most, they're going to be laughing all the way to the bank. Now, while the Trudeau Liberals have not studied what going ahead with carbon pricing without the U.S. means, it doesn't mean they haven't studied carbon taxes at all. I mean, they love these things. They've been warned that it will hurt exports, in particular from Alberta and Saskatchewan. They've been told that the price needs to be higher, significantly higher. Check out this report produced by Environment Canada. And while Trudeau and company want a $10 ton on carbon, rising to $50 a ton, the report says it needs to start 10 times higher. Starting in 2015, meeting Canadian targets would require a carbon price rising to $100 by 2020, $200 to $300 per ton by 2050. Delays in implementation significantly increase required price, which means charge more. Then just a few days ago, a story in The Guardian, the climate Bible of the left, called for similar high carbon taxes. The story was based on a report by a group that was funded by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Donald Trump and the Americans won't pay any attention to that report. But you can bet that Trudeau will, and once his carbon tax is implemented, and after he wins the 2019 election, you can bet that he will heed the calls of the globalists to hike carbon taxes to ever higher levels. If you think he's hell-bent on killing the Canadian economy, well, you're right. Jobs, industry, productivity, they're all about to flood across the border into the United States while Trudeau stands alone, virtue signaling that Canada is a good Boy Scout. An unemployed Boy Scout, but a good Boy Scout nonetheless. If you're against this madness, I'm going to ask you to sign our petition at stopthecarbontax.com. Then share it on social media. If you've already signed this petition, then send this report, this video to your friends and family. Share this video on Facebook. Let everyone know what Justin Trudeau and his Liberals plan on doing to the Canadian economy, eliminating jobs, an opportunity for you, for your children, for your grandchildren. Go now. It's stopthecarbontax.com. That's stopthecarbontax.com. Sign it and share it. If you like the Rebel video you just watched, make sure you never miss another one again. Click here to subscribe and, as I said, share this on Facebook.